Hello, this is Adam Watson at Watson EdTech, and welcome to our Blended Learning Basics video series. We are on our fifth and final video, where we're going to complete the SAMR analysis that we began at the end of the last video, and look ahead to our journey and what we need to think about or reflect on as we continue with our practice. As far as our learning targets, we are down to the last two, which is explaining why the SAMR model is important in a one-to-one environment, in this case by seeing some different examples of how that SAMR analysis might be applied. And we're also going to reflect on our current EdTech practice and find a focused area for growth as we continue. As we mentioned before, we had some examples given, some classroom examples of technology integration. And these examples came from a professional development session that was done and hosted by Mooresville Graded School District, a North Carolina school district, and they got a lot of acclaim, and justifiably so, for having laptops in a one-to-one environment for students for many, many years, way before Chromebooks or iPads and other tablets found a way to make that more scalable. They had made that priority and made that happen, and their experience and the things that they did, a lot of people on a yearly professional development opportunity called Summer Connection has learned a lot from the feat of Mooresville. So I definitely want to give them props and mention that they were the ones that had many different examples given. I've cultivated and pulled out 4. So we're going to go through each of those examples and then explain why or where it may fall in the SAMR development. Now I will point out this. If you did that analysis and you came up with a justifiable reason that you think it's a level up or down, then the key thing is that you're just critically thinking about tech integration. If you can justify it with some reasoning and rationale, I'm going to let you have it. But I'm going to give you probably what I hope is the most likely ways of the SAMR analysis and where these examples would fall. Our first example was students selecting a topic within Roman history that they would like to research further. Students create a multimedia presentation for the class to teach them about their topic and provide the class a link to their presentation so that each student can more deeply explore and interact with that content further. Well, look at the words in red to help you figure out. First off, you have students selecting, students creating. Students can more deeply explore and interact with the content further. All these things tend to go on the over that dotted line that we've talked about with SAMR, and it's more student-centered kind of environment. So based on that, we're looking at modification as an analysis. Students are owning and personalizing their learning, they're creating, there's significant task redesign, such as the student choice in the presentation tool, allowing their peers access. With a little bit more of a push, maybe with sharing this project with an outside world, we could see redefinition as a possibility as well. Next example, students create an electronic form to find out favorite pastimes of students in their Spanish class. Well, there's 2 possibilities here. First off, we might say it's just substitution, because we might ask the question, what is improved over a hand copy of this survey, except for possibly having it for posterity where it would be easier to pass out. You might not see much more of an opportunity of digitizing this over a hand-printed or photocopied version of the survey. But notice that we didn't specify a specific digital tool. And if you were thinking that maybe like a Google form is the survey, you might argue for that lens augmentation, because a Google form can provide a summary of responses for instant graphs and percentages and data analysis. You can create a connected Google sheet that in itself can be electronically shared with others. You want to look at the results. And from that angle, then you might say, okay, from that angle of tech integration, these are functional improvements that would qualify for augmentation. Example 3. Students research an historical concept and create a children's literature version of it. Students collaborate with the younger grade level to compile illustrations and audio narratives for the electronic book and make the book available to share with parents and the community. Well, again, looking at those words highlighted in red, you have creation and collaboration with a different grade level. You have this book being made available to parents and community, so redefinition seems to be clear here. Not only are students creating the art with the technology, when the technology is providing opportunity to share that work with the world outside, previously inconceivable stuff is happening that's reaching beyond the walls of the classroom. And lastly, example number 4. Students use a multimedia Shakespeare book that includes a video performance alongside each page of text. Here, we're just really looking at augmentation. It's a functional improvement to be sure. The embedded video that's alongside the text does help me as a learner get the Shakespeare text easier, but that's about as far as it goes. The thing I want you to think about is what might you do to make this a M or an R, to make this a modification or redefinition opportunity of technology. And really the moves wouldn't be that hard. In this example, if you want to do modification, it would be as simple as, instead of the students using a multimedia Shakespeare book, how about they create it? And perhaps the video performances that we're talking about are ones that they come up with, that they record, and therefore embed into the final project. That alone would certainly raise the stakes, as they will. And redefinition, well, if you did that opportunity, created the book, this multimedia presentation book, and provided it to an outside group, outside of the four walls of your classroom, again, previously inconceivable opportunity for you to do that thanks to the technology, and you're reaching outside of the four walls. So redefinition wouldn't be that difficult as long as you have that audience. So you can see that from something that's not necessarily a bad thing of technology, but if you're looking for ways to improve it or make the technology integration deeper, we can make those moves fairly easy. That leads us to our reflection question as we're wrapping up this video. Previously, on the previous video, you reflected on where your average teaching day would be assessed, if you were an S or an A or an M or an R. So think about what are some best practices you can do to nudge yourself up one level, from S to A, from A to M, from M to R. And if you're feeling like you're in a pretty good redefinition state of mind, what are new things you can do to attempt in order to maintain that transformed, redefined classroom? In the journey ahead, I want you to think about, from this video series that you've experienced, how this online training has helped you, in what ways you can imagine applying your new knowledge, and what are your next steps. And remember to revisit those learning targets, especially in particular the success criteria. How are you going to provide evidence to demonstrate your competence in this particular topic of blended learning? I want to thank you so much for experiencing and hopefully actively learning throughout the experience of all these 5 videos. I am available in multiple different places on the internet. I'm on Facebook with an EdTech Elixirs page, which goes with my watsonedtech.blogspot.com blog. edtechelixirs.com is a shortcut to get to that Facebook page. And I am on Twitter and Instagram at watsonedtech. I really appreciate the time that you've invested. I appreciate you being patient and experiencing this, and I wish you luck in finding ways to make your blended learning experience a transformative one for you and your students. Thanks so much.